Welcome everybody back to AuburnVersus.com. Mike Szvetitz here with Sports of the Opelika-Auburn News with Collin Mickle, Auburn University's beat writer for the Opelika-Auburn News. Collin, big win Fayetteville. You got back. You're rested up now. Trip was all right.
Absolutely. It's it's never easy to get out to the natural state, but I'm just glad to be home.
How big was this win for Auburn? Not necessarily sloppy. I think more of the game plan was to keep it close. How big was the win? And just talk about the game in general as far as Auburn, having to make West Byram having to make another last-second kick to win the game as a true freshman. What was the atmosphere coming out of Fayetteville for this team?
Happy. I mean, you cannot be happy. The way that they played, their defense obviously played superbly. Like you say, they took the air out of the ball a little bit on offense. They were trying not to lose the game on offense, which sometimes you have to do that. They need to do more on offense, obviously, against LSU, but the game plan was very similar to what they got against Arkansas. But they have to be happy. They have to win pretty much all their SEC games from now on out to have a shot at Atlanta, which obviously that is this team's goal every single year. We thought that they were long since out of it when they were 1-2 a month ago, but they've gotten right back in, and it has been a really impressive effort.
Talk about the defense, and speaking of impressive efforts, I mean, the defense holding Aaron McFadden 45, 46 yards rushing, and Felix Jones to less than that. That's pretty decent. I mean, it's superb. You really cannot say enough about this defense. I have written about them every day this week so far. I will continue to write about them every day this week so far. That didn't make any sense, but don't stay with me, internet viewers. Follow. Anyway, I mean, this defense has been outstanding. We're getting to the point where you can start talking about it as one of the great defenses in Auburn history, to go with 1957 and 1988 and 2004. I mean, they are playing great. Not at a historic level like some of those teams, but extraordinarily well. They've got so much talent, and especially to have done what they've done with the injuries to some of their best players has been phenomenal. There's some youth on this defense as well. I mean, there's some true freshmen playing. Absolutely. And some guys filling in roles like Chris Evans. I mean, talk about some of these guys. I mean, what is it about this defense? Is it Will Muschamp? Is it the scheme? Or is it just everything? Well, I mean, Will Muschamp is a huge part of it. Will Muschamp is a great young coach. You can't watch Auburn play defense and not realize that Will Muschamp is doing a great job. But as Tommy said on Sunday, Tommy Tuberville said that they're loaded with talent on defense. I mean, they've got great players. They've got, Gerard Powers is playing great. Aaron Savage and Zach Etheridge are playing phenomenally well at safety. The defensive line is, I think, one of the best in the SEC, maybe the best in the SEC. Pat Sims, Sinderic Marks, Quentin Groves when he's in there, Antonio Coleman when Groves is out, young Antoine Carter. I mean, they just have so much talent on defense. And even at linebacker where they've been a little thin, now the Blackman's getting back, now that Merrill Johnson's healthy enough to practice. This defense is scary. There are not very many, if any, weak links. Can't forget about my boy Josh Thompson. Sorry, Josh. Sorry. I don't want him to come after me. I hope the people of Statesboro, Georgia will forgive me for forgetting. I can't name. They've got like 30 guys playing on defense. I can't name them all. So defensively, offensively, like you said, they played it close to the vest. A fumble down in the red zone by Brad Lester probably negated a lot of points, and West Byram missed 2 field goals, and Zach Etheridge had a pick that could have been for 6 points. So some missed opportunities, but offensively did what they needed to do. Defensively, obviously played outstanding. They're going to need all that, plus a bag of chips probably this week in Baton Rouge. Maybe Doritos. You got to give me a minute with a bag of chips. That was dollar bills right there. All that and a bag of chips will indeed be necessary against LSU. I mean, this is a very good LSU team. They got outscored against Kentucky. Auburn has not outscored anybody. They haven't won those kind of games really in a while. If it comes down to that, if this is a 37-34 game, that's a hard game for Auburn to win in Baton Rouge. I mean, Auburn needs it to be like the last few games here in Auburn have been, a 7-3, a 10-9, something like that. And both defenses are very, very much capable of doing that. Again, the offense needs to be better. They cannot go back to their turnover-prone ways. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that Brandon Cox, that Auburn offense in a long time. It cannot rear its ugly head again this week. This is such a big game for LSU. 5 out of the last 7 games, the winner has gone to Atlanta for the SEC championship. The last 3 games have been decided by a total of 8 points. What is it about this game, whether it's in Jordan-Hare or in Death Valley, what is it about this game that makes it so physical, so important, and just so close? Well, I mean, obviously anytime the 2 best teams in the division play, the winner is going to have a pretty good chance to win the division. Right. And these have been the 2 best programs in the West for the last 6, 7, 8 years. Like Tommy Tuberville said today, the emphasis on defense has been huge. These are 2 programs that define themselves by what they do on defense in the run game. LSU has a reputation for having more explosive athletes, but they both really get down to physical defense. And when that happens, you don't play a lot of games that are 37-34. You play a lot of games that are 10-9, and you win a lot of those games if you're as good as LSU at home. Last time Auburn went to Baton Rouge, It was an overtime game. John Vaughn missed 5 field goals.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've heard about this or not.
Sorry, John Vaughn.
So, I mean, but again, is there any, and to bring that up, to ask this question, is there any kind of revenge factor for this Auburn team, or is there any kind of, hey, we should have won that 2 years ago, so let's definitely go and finish business this year? I mean, what's the mindset of some of these players? A lot of them young, never been there. I mean, there's only 4, 5, 6 players on this roster.
What's funny is how many guys I've talked to. I'm doing a story for later in the week on the atmosphere in Tiger Stadium, and gosh, I've had to do a ton of interviews to find a guy who's been there. I mean, especially on defense, there are a lot of guys who were not, maybe have been on the roster, but were not with the team on the bus when they went down to Baton Rouge in 2005. I don't know that this game needs to get any bigger. I don't know that anybody's thinking about 2005. I don't think anyone needs to think about anything more than the huge consequences of this game. Lose, and Auburn is really behind the 8 ball and needs some help to get back in the SEC West. Win, and nothing is assured, but you continue to control your own destiny, and that's huge.
Let's switch gears for a second. There's 3 SEC teams in the top 10. This last about 4 or 5 months ago, what 3 would you have thought? And is it the same 3? I mean, with LSU, you probably would have been there, but Kentucky and South Carolina.
I mean, Kentucky and South Carolina, they're in the top 10 all the time, right?
I've
been locked in a walk-in freezer recently.
Maybe baseball.
Obviously Kentucky and South Carolina are right now the story in the league. In addition to LSU, until last week being just dominant, and Auburn's comeback. I mean, I think those are the big storylines in the league. The East part of the league right now, with Kentucky and South Carolina staking a claim. South Carolina, with a chance to really make a statement in the next few games against Florida and Tennessee. I think still have left, as well as Kentucky. No, I'm sorry, they've already beaten Kentucky. But it's great. I mean, everybody likes to see an underdog. I guess except for the fans of the teams that the underdogs beat. But it's been a great story. It's been fun to watch, and it's something that whenever you're at a restaurant or in a press box or wherever you are on a Saturday, and you see one of those games on the TV, you can't help but go, "Oh my gosh, Kentucky's playing again! Oh my gosh, can South Carolina win again?" And that's fun. That's what makes college football good.
The SEC West pretty much hinges on this game. Alabama's still in it,
right,
with a bulk of a really hard schedule coming up in the SEC. What is it about college football this season with teams falling out, some teams coming back in? A dark horse, maybe if you want to call them, South Florida. What is it about college football? Is it finally the parity that's showing up? Is it the scholarship athletes that now everybody's starting to get the same amount of athletes, or is it just one of those years? I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's one of them. It's just a crazy year. I mean, you look the last few years of the BCS titles in Southern California and Texas and Ohio State and Florida. I mean, these are not the 85 scholarship limit has been in place for a while, and it hasn't kept the Miamis and the Ohio States from being dominant. This is just a crazy year. You play enough football games and crazy stuff is going to happen. This happens to be the time that everything is coming up, I was going to do a slot machine reference, but triple cherries just seems so awkward. Yeah, coming up 7s. There you go. Mike Szvetitz, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm thinking about Biloxi, already in my mind on the trip back from Baton Rouge.
So yeah, I mean, this is just everything is going wild, and it's really a pleasure to watch. I mean, I don't know that there's anybody, again, except for the teams, the fans of the teams they're beating, that isn't excited about South Florida doing so.
What is the prediction for Saturday night in Baton Rouge?
Close game. Yeah, I mean, bet the house on a close game. Disclaimer, do not bet your house. Also, never bet anything on what I say. I would have lost my shirt many times picking Auburn games this season. But, I think you have to expect a close game. I think, Baton Rouge has been a house of horrors for Auburn for a long time, as long as Tubby Tuberville's been here, and before that. I just don't think you can be confident that Auburn will win, but it'll certainly be a close game. And in a close game, just so you know, anybody can win. So
who wins?
LSU wins. Book it.
Score?
Score. I'm going to say this is the fun part where I dawdle. 17-15.
Wow.
LSU fighting Bengal.
Five field goals?
5 field goals for Auburn. They're just, have you, I don't. If I bet you that you could run across this room, but Glenn Dorsey was standing in the way, I feel like he would stop you. He's
I think
good.
You're right.
He's big and strong and fast.
It's very scary.
And you're not as quick as Ben Tatum.
No,
a fan.
I don't. I'm
he's
probably not as quick as Glenn Dorsey either.
He's probably going to tackle them too.
Probably. I don't know if
the wheels are coming off internet viewers.
Could I outrun Lindsey Field in a 40? That's the question. I still have to do that.
We got to get that on Auburn versus.
That's got to be on Auburn versus sometimes. All right, guys. I'll pick. I think it's going to be a close game. LSU wins. I just don't think they lose back-to-back weeks in Death Valley. I'm going to go 10-7.
10-7. Classic score.
10-7 with a tough defensive battle. All right, guys. We'll talk about that next week. We'll see if we're right. We probably won't be, but we'll see if we're right next week.